The results of neglect, by the way, can be very serious. If you doubt this, look back a few decades. In the 30s and 40s, for example, Soviet agriculture suffered huge setbacks because of scientifically misinformed agricultural policies of Lysenko and Lenin. These men ignored and often killed geneticists rather than listen to them, to the great demise of Soviet farming. The third reason that a lack of science literacy is unfortunate from our perspective as a Christian liberal arts college is that the Christian faith is often blamed for part of that illiteracy. I was just at a talk at the American Chemical Society meeting where the keynote speaker, Lawrence Cross, made exactly this connection. He said, for example, that a recent Gallup poll indicated that 47% of Americans believe that the earth is less than 10,000 years old. He specifically blamed Christian colleges for teaching this kind of nonsense. And it is nonsense, by the way, and we are partly blameworthy. St. Augustine himself warned us of this danger long before modern science even existed. He said this, "Even non-Christians know something about the earth, the heavens, and the other elements of the world, about the motion and the orbit of the stars, and even their size and relative positions. Now it is a disgraceful and dangerous thing for an infidel to hear a Christian, presumably given the meaning of Holy Scripture, talking nonsense on these topics. And we should take all means to prevent such an embarrassing situation in which people show up vast ignorance in a Christian and laugh it to scorn." We need to, as a church, take St. Augustine's admonition seriously. Westmont College has a unique role to play in helping to achieve science literacy in this country and around the world. First of all, we are probably just one of a handful of Christian colleges that even have a viable science program to begin with. Science is expensive, and it has not traditionally been something that Christian colleges do very well. Some years ago, however, Westmont decided to invest in its science program, and that investment has paid off. Today, we have been able to send our science graduates to the best graduate and medical schools in the country. Secondly, as bad as the statistics that I quoted earlier are, science literacy among adults might be starting to turn a corner. A report last year by Michigan State University researcher John Miller showed that science literacy rates among adults has improved slightly in recent years, especially compared to other nations. He credits this increase to, guess what? The science GE requirements in U.S. colleges and universities. In other words, the increase in science literacy that is just starting to happen among adults is due to the GE courses that we teach at places like Westmont. According to Miller, taking even one college science course leads students to become self-educators in science for life. A broad-based liberal arts education really does make a difference. Thirdly, we need to produce graduates who can speak intelligently into our culture's misinformed ideas on the interaction between science and faith. Many of the popularizers of science, and Jeff mentioned some with recent books that have climbed to top positions on the New York Times bestseller list, are saying that modern science disproves Christianity. The church's response has largely been to say that modern science must therefore be wrong. What we have failed to fully explore is that modern science might be right, but the implication that it refutes Christianity is what is wrong. Lastly, if we are to accomplish any of this, we must begin to see our mission more broadly. We have historically viewed our mission to be exclusively the education of our students. We need to make room in our mission for our faculty to be educators of our culture and of our church. I will leave you with a quote from C.S. Lewis about the importance of this. He says, "What we want is not more little books about Christianity, but more little books by Christians on other subjects. It is not the books written in direct defense of materialism that makes the modern man a materialist. It is the materialistic assumptions in all of the other books. In the same way, it is not books on Christianity that will really trouble the materialist. But he would be troubled if, whenever he wanted a cheap, popular introduction to some science, the best work on the market was always by a Christian." Thank you.
Is that going to work? I want to talk, starting about technology, which Warren has already mentioned. As we all know, technology is connecting the world. We might share online photos with a friend in Zambia. We might call Dell customer service and talk to someone in India. My daughter bought me a dress over eBay from someone in China. Our admission office holds online chat sessions with dozens of prospective students from all over the U.S. and perhaps the world. And we have friends in Denver who use webcams and Skype to talk to their son who's in med school in Grenada. And so technology really has connected the entire world together. And what I want to say is, just as technology is connecting the world together, drawing the world together, computer science is connecting the academic disciplines and drawing them together. A lot of computer scientists these days, and this is a very young field, we're still trying to find ourselves, and a lot of computer scientists these days, including my colleague Wayne Iba, are starting to describe the central core of the discipline of computer science as that of information. So computer science deals with the questions of how to collect information, how to represent information, how to classify, organize, manipulate information, how to store, retrieve, communicate, and disseminate information. And as all academic disciplines have become more and more computationally and informationally dependent, computer science has become more and more integrally related to every field. For example, if you think about the sciences have become more computationally and data intensive. Astronomy, our Keck telescope, we're dealing here with large data sets. How do we collect, organize, and analyze this information? Computer science deals with these problems. So besides being integrally related to other disciplines, there's also new disciplines, new fields arising in the spaces in the intersections between computer science and one or more academic disciplines. So for example, bioinformatics, the intersection between biology and computer science, neuroscience, management information systems, that connection with business, geographic information systems, computer graphics, medical information systems. There's just so many different fields that are related to computer science. And computer science also has social and cognitive aspects, including the social impact of information technologies. So what are the societal and global impacts of social networking phenomena like Facebook? How is user-generated content like video and blogs and wikis and podcasting, how is that changing the way we communicate and retrieve information, how we interact with each other? How are communication tools affecting this? What are some of the ethical issues concerning digital information and web content? What about the global impacts of search engines? So in Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, which many of us have become familiar with, Larry Page, the co-founder of Google, is quoted as saying, the easier and more accurate searching becomes, the more global Google's user base becomes, and the more powerful a flattener it becomes. Every day, more and more peoples are able to inform themselves in their own language. So there's a lot of exciting ways in which computer science is informing and interacting with other fields to impact people around the world. And I wanted to just share a few examples. I'm barely going to scratch the surface, but these were just a few that I picked out at random because I found them interesting. Sensor-driven science, a big field right now. So wireless sensor networks are changing the way that we can do ecological and environmental research. We can collect data through wireless sensors in remote areas and process that data elsewhere. And this is being done in a study right now of the ecology of the coastal redwood. There's miniature wireless sensors in the trees, and it's called a micromote, each one of them, less than 3 cubic inches, and it can transmit up to 40 kilobytes per second, can run for months on a C battery. And so many will be placed in a tree, and the data can be collected with a laptop just by simply walking to the base of the tree, allowing us to get information, ecological information, that we couldn't have before.